Welcome to the show. And our today's guest is an investor, co-founder of HMO Heaven, Trend to Rent Success, and also the best-selling author of Friend to Success. And she's a speaker and podcaster as well. So she has been featured in Entrepreneur Magazine, Telegraph newspaper, Property Investor Today, and many other newspapers. And she is none other than Stephen Taylor. So how are you feeling today?
I'm really good, Mahmood. I'm so excited to be on the show and I can't wait to talk to you.
Amazing, amazing. So, how did everything got started for you? So, how did you got started, and what were your initial steps for becoming what you are today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I came into property and into business, later in life in my 40s. And I didn't really think that I had what it takes to become a business person. And I hadn't really had a lot of money in the past. But the thing that changed was that I was working my 9 to 5 office job and my mum got ill. And I wasn't really there for her in the way that I wanted to be. And that's what made me decide to, that's what made me think about maybe business. There's a way that I could be around for my mum and also make money. But I wasn't very confident in my ability to be able to manage a business. I thought it was all mystical and things for other people. But what did spring to mind is that here in the UK, everybody knows at least one person who's done really well investing in property and has been able to make it their full-time thing. And that seemed a bit more simple and something that I could look into. So I just decided to start investigating how could I maybe start getting involved with property. And that was when I hit upon the idea that as well as the normal property strategies where you spend tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of pounds here in the UK, there are strategies where you can get started in a property business without having a lot of money that are accessible to most people. And that's really how I got started.
That's really great. That's really great. So now, so what, like as you said, that every single person knows one person who is in the
Yes.
property and they're successful. So like,
Yes.
is the like working in properties so easy in UK?
Yeah. Well, it's not so easy because most people don't know about it, or most people think they haven't got enough money to get into it. But that's all a mindset, because when you think of the mindset of how can I, i.e., how can I get started in property? How could I raise the money I need to get started? How could I save the money? What about family and friends? There's always a way in, because even this, or especially the successful people, often when they started, they weren't successful, but they found a way in by being resourceful. And so for me, what I found the way in, there's lots of ways to be resourceful. You could be resourceful that other people will lend you their money. I wasn't resourceful in that sense. I didn't have the confidence to be able to do that. But there are other strategies. So you mentioned our book, Rent to Rent Success. And that is our strategy, basically, because normally you have to buy a property and then you own the property. But to buy the property, you need at least £50,000 for the deposit, the one-off payment up front, and the buying costs. And then you have a mortgage for the rest. And you make about £200 to £300 a month from your property, but you've got £50,000 tied up into it. So if you want to build a portfolio, you need a lot of £50,000. So that's a lot of money. So that's the average UK salary is £25,000. So it's 2 years' salary for one property. And that's without spending anything else. That's before you get taxed, before you buy food, before you do anything. So for the average UK person, it's out of their reach. But there's another strategy where you can rent a property off the landlord. You pay the owner a guaranteed rent. You do the property up a little bit, and the tenants who move in, the housemates who move in, pay you more rent than you're paying the owner. And after you paid all the bills, you make a profit. And this strategy is a house share strategy. So everyone has their own bedroom and they share the kitchen and the bathroom. And using this strategy, you make between 500 and over £1,000 every month in profit from each property. So you don't need many properties really to replace the average UK salary. You only need 3 to 5 of these rent to rent properties. And instead of needing 50,000 to buy it, you only need a few thousand to rent it. And so, therefore, it's a great way for people to get started in property business, make that extra money, and then use that money to be able to invest in buying their own properties at a quicker pace than they would do if they just relied on their annual salary.
That's really interesting. That's a great strategy. Though, like, I'm curious to know more about it because I have no idea how these things work and how you can talk with the owner that you have this property and I'm gonna rent it. Like the how I don't know
Yeah.
how the conversation works. So how does this conversation get started? So how do you reach out to let's say a property
Yes.
owner and how does everything get started?
Yeah, that's a great question, Mahmood. And that's what everyone says. Whenever anyone in the world ever hears this, they always say, well, why would a landlord give a property to you? Why would a property owner give a property to you when there are professional letting agents? That is their job to do what you say you're going to do. So let me explain what happens. When you have a house share property in the UK, it's called a house of multiple occupation, HMO. When you're an owner of that property, your biggest problem is how to find someone to manage your property to a high standard over a long period of time. Because a lot of the letting agents, the professionals, have 200 properties or more, and they're not able to put the time and attention into your specific property. So your specific property, you may have high utility bills, the gas bill, the electric is all gone to pot. They might not tell you about maintenance. They might not fill all the rooms quickly because each has got their own individual person. You've got to be really diligent about filling the rooms. So oftentimes the landlords have got that problem. And so when we approach them and say, hey, we're a professional person. We can look after your property. We're only going to be looking after your property. Actually, this is our first one. And we're going to treat it with real diligence and care. We've got all the professionals set up. We've got all of the insurance. And because they meet you, Mahmood, and they say, oh, Stephanie seems like a nice person. Actually, I trust her. And in some ways, I'm more trustworthy than the letting agent because you know that the letting agent is going to add it to their roster of 200 properties. But when you call up about your property next week, they won't know which property you're talking about.
Okay. So like you're using like the agent's like strength as your like as his weakness. So like his one strength is that he manages a lot of property, and that you're using that as a weakness of his, and you're
Yes,
using that.
yes,
Yeah. So
yes,
he's not managing like Michael, like he's not managing only yours, and we can manage only
yes,
yours. Yeah.
yes. At the beginning, what you're talking about, people really worry that they're not going to have the confidence because they've never done it before to speak to the owner and that the owner's not going to rate them. But we have a whole program called the Rent to Rent Kickstarter program where we show people how to do this and give them the confidence that they need to be able to speak to the owners so they can get the properties. And so many times I have people on I have a podcast as well called the Rent to Rent Success Podcast. And we had somebody on there this week, Joseph Daniels. He's a shy guy. He said he doesn't really like speaking to new people normally, so he was worried about it. But he's got 4 properties during the lockdown to manage, and a phenomenal cash flow for his family because he also lost his job at the beginning of the coronavirus lockdown. So for him, it's totally changed his life. And people can listen to that episode I'll tell you in a moment what number it is, because I think it might answer a lot of the questions when you hear it, a personal story of somebody who's actually did it. Yeah,
Yeah, okay. So yeah, it sounds just interesting. So how do you find the landlords who like to reach out to?
great. So I just found it on the Rent to Rent Success podcast. That case study I mentioned is episode 69. With Joseph Daniels. But how do I find the landlords to reach out to? Well, there are three main ways, but then there are lots of other things you can do as well. So, first of all, every property that's a house of multiple occupation, a house share property, is listed on a public register. And so we can get that public register. It just has the names and the postal addresses. And then we can send letters saying, would you like us to manage your property? We'll do a really great job, and all the reasons why we're going to help them with any problems that they're having. The second way is to go through letting agents. So, letting agents normally manage properties, and we can go to them and say, we'll partner with you. If you've got any properties that are house shares, we'll look after them. You don't have to do any work, and you're still going to get paid your commission. So, that's a good partnership for us to be able to have with letting agents. And the third way is that there are other ways, which is one of them is telling everybody what you do, just so that everybody knows what you do, because you could get people from your cleaner, your neighbors, people at your children's school, anybody might know somebody, your builders. So we just say tell everybody what you do. And then there are online portals as well that you can use to find the properties as well.
Okay, got it. So can you mention a few online portals where you can look for properties?
Yeah. So Gumtree, any of the portals where the owners of the property lists the property online. So if you want to go direct to the owners, then Gumtree is a good one. Spare Room is another one. Open Rent is another one. And these are all, yeah, ones where you can go direct to the owners. And then there are other property portals such as Rightmove, where you can go via letting agents and ask letting agents to rent the properties to you.
Okay. Yeah, good ways. So what the third way that you mentioned was to tell everybody. So like you
Yeah.
said, like that's like it actually sounds really easy that like to tell everybody that like tell that what you do, but like on a real, like on an actual basis, like when you're talking about real life and when you have no idea or no confidence, so like that thing is actually really hard to tell everybody that's what I do, that is something I just started. Yeah. So how can you get that confidence, that get to that level of confidence from like with having no experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, firstly, put yourself around people who already have the results that you're trying to achieve. So when your mind constantly will tell you you're not good enough, you've never done this before, I don't think you can do this. Remember when you failed at that thing when you were six? Well, see, this is going to be exactly the same as that. And so your mind is reliable. It's always going to tell you that because it's trying to protect you from looking like a fool or failing or any bad feelings at all. And if you listen to your mind, you would just stay on the couch eating potato chips and never go out so that nobody sees you, nobody criticizes you. You're just in your cave where it's perfectly safe and you're definitely not going to die. Um, so I think just recognize that just because your mind tells you all these things, it's perfectly normal. You've still got to carry on and do what you want to do. So in the program and in the book, we've got a whole section on mindset mastery. And really it's how to your success level depends on your ability to the relationship between number one, your game changer brain. Now, your game changer brain is the reason why people are listening to this podcast. It's the planning brain, the aspirational brain, the brain that tells us how to move forward. It's the brain where we say, right, we're going to go to the gym every day at 6 a.m. And not at the moment in lockdown, but when that's all over. But then the following morning, it's your toddler brain snaps in and says, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't think we should go to the gym. I think we should go tomorrow to the gym. And so when you can master that relationship by, and the way that I encourage people to do this is just when that toddler brain comes up, say, oh, yes, yeah, there you are. Okay, that's fine. Of course, you're saying, let's not go to the gym. It's going to be fine. We're going to go to the gym. We're going to work out. And we're going to keep, we might not feel like it, but we're going to do it anyway. So it's to not let your toddler brain stop you from moving forward and taking action from your game changer brain. Don't let it derail you. The second thing is, like I just said, put yourself around a community that is already achieving the results you want to achieve. That way, your toddler brain can see, oh, yeah, people can do this. Maybe I can do this. It just makes your life so much easier. And the final thing is break it down into steps. So how we break it down into steps is we suggest that the very first thing you start with is having a social pitch. And that's a way of describing what you do in a very short amount of time to anyone you meet. So that when I ask you, Mahmood, what do you do? And you're probably going to tell me your job. And you're not going to feel embarrassed. You're not going to feel ashamed. You're not going to feel anything about it because you do it lots of times every day. So what we want to do is practice your social pitch about your new property business so that it becomes just as natural and easy for you. So at the beginning, it's going to feel awkward and uncomfortable, and your brain's going to say, but you're not a property investor, but you don't do property. But over time, you're going to be able to lean into it and just do it. Start saying it to family, friends, colleagues, anyone. And finally, the last thing about it is, as part of all this, it's really important to not let other people put you off your dreams. I call it, there's a mantra, believe bigger, be bolder, be a game changer. Believe bigger is about believing that more is possible for you than you currently can see. Be bolder is about, this is where we feel embarrassed or ashamed or nervous to say, I'm a property investor, or I run a property business and this is how we help people. When you're bolder, you don't mind that your auntie might be criticizing you or laughing behind your back, or that your cousins may think that you're going to fail, or that some ex-work colleagues may see your post on social media, or that somebody's going to hear that you think you're something now that you're into property. So you let all of that go off you, because whatever you do, some of these aunties and cousins and colleagues are going to criticize you no matter what you do. So therefore, it's really important that you do what you want to do and not let these fears about what these aunties and cousins are going to think stop you from moving forward.
These are like really great three ways. And so from my perspective, like from my side, what I saw, like as much like the people who criticize, like, and like the issue is like people are criticizing, and we see that people are criticizing, and there are a lot of other people who we admire, and they appreciate what we are doing, and they're
Yes.
proud. But the thing is that who are proud of us, or like they appreciate it, they don't say us or through anything. Like that's why we think like we're not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But the ratio is like very like, what do you call it, like let's say it's 5 people and like there are 500 people, like that's the ratio. Like the 500 people are like admiring us, and like 5 people are like are just in front of us who are saying like you're doing wrong. Yeah,
Yes.
like that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing. So I want people who admire just to say this, that no, you're doing the right thing. So like, and this actually inspires a lot and turns off every other criticize that we get
Yeah.
in the building process. Yeah. So now the next thing is, so how did you grow your business from like so fast in just 3 years? Like
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. We got excited about this business. As I said to you, I was older when I started it, in my mid 40s. And so I think after all those decades of not really living to full potential, I think I just felt ready to go all guns blazing. I felt there was an urgency to it. And I felt excited by being in business and my uh, create transforming the properties from hellish to heavenly. Our business is called HMO Heaven. And as that was one of our taglines, is we transform the house shares from hellish to heavenly. And we got the first two properties really quickly, and we did the transformation, and then we waited and thought, oh my gosh, what if they don't rent out? Because by this time we've spent a lot of money doing them up. You don't need to spend a lot of money, but when you're a beginner, you make a lot of mistakes. So we paid a lot of money for things we didn't need to pay for. But anyway, they still worked out to be amazing properties for the business as well. And after that, we just went up, and people could see what we were doing. We did before and after photos of the houses. We sent it out to all the local letting agents about what we were offering. We sent those letters regularly. We were posting regularly on social media. We were telling everybody what we do. I'm a naturally shy person, but through the business, I've just had to get used to speaking to so many people, to speaking on videos and having a YouTube channel. We've got a YouTube channel at Rent to Rent Success. And you know, I just become the public face really of the company, and it's helped me to grow so much as a person. I feel like a different person to before I started the business just 5 years ago.
Okay, got it. So what were the biggest obstacles that you faced? So yeah,
Yes,
so one thing
I
though,
think. Go on.
yeah. So like we are seeing for like Black Lives Matter movement. So
Yes.
and this is also a man dominated sector. So
Yes.
how did you
Yeah.
like what challenges did you face to overcome it? So like did you face these
Yeah.
issues and for these things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great question. And as well, we're based in Wales in the UK, which is, there are not that many Black people who live in this part of the country. So I think in general, I think people are surprised that when we turn up to things. But I think people, when they get to know us or to know the work that we do, or the passion and the energy that we bring to it, or the way that we strive for excellence in what we do, I think people get to see that, and then they don't mind, what color you are or whatever. So I think the important thing is to start off from a place of, I can do this. Lean into that place of I can do it, even if you're not sure whether you can, because you know that you're going to do your absolute best. Um, and the very first time we do something, you have to go into it from a place of belief, because you don't already have the evidence that you can do it. So you just have to go with the belief that you can do it. And the more times you do that, the easier it gets, because the next new thing that comes along, you think, okay, well, I did that other new thing last time, so I can do this. And when you approach people or have a relationship with people, when you're going in with the belief in your mind of, I know that I can do an amazing job for you. I know that if you work with me, you are going to get so much out of it. That comes over. What comes over is that what comes over when we meet each other as humans, what you feel when we're speaking is not just about the words that I say. You can feel my energy, even on Zoom, as we are now. You can feel my energy, you can feel my intentions, you can feel my belief, and I can feel the same for you. So the most important thing about, being a Black woman or being a woman in a man's world is, the most important thing is what I believe in my mind when I go into the interaction, because somebody else might come into the interaction thinking, I don't want to work with a Black woman, or I don't like women when they do this, or they might not be aware of these thoughts, or I think this is something a man should do. But when I meet with him, And I go in with my belief, which is I know I can do an amazing job for you. If he needs an amazing job done, he's going to feel that. And maybe he's going to say, do you know what? Can you do this for me? And so I find that we get a lot of business because our aim is to be the best, and we believe we are the best locally. And on Google, if you Google HMO Heaven, which is our business, we've got a lot of over 70, I think it is, 5-star reviews, which is a lot for a small lettings agency. And in the UK, for lettings agencies, often the reviews are much more negative because mainly the people who leave reviews are people who've had a problem or had a dispute with you. And there are lots of disputes that letting agents typically can get involved in. So it's actually a lot of our company vision is to be excellent, and we have a team who are putting that into place for us. But when you have all of those assets online as well, like when people Google, they can see you've got so many 5-star reviews, and they can see what people have said about you. They can see your before and afters. That helps as well, because then it almost doesn't matter what you look like or what race you're from, or because people can see that your company is excellent.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. So, what are the other obstacles that we actually face that which were very like hard to overcome?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you a little obstacle that a lot of my students talk to me about. As you can hear, I've got a very sort of British accent. So my parents are from Jamaica, but I was born in the UK and I grew up in the UK. But a lot of people who come into the program are inspired because they see me as a Black woman, and they come in, and they're often from other countries, or they're sometimes from other countries, and they have accents, and they're very nervous about it. They have a belief that people won't work with them because they have an accent. And so they really see this as a huge barrier. And this is what I say to that is that it will be a barrier if you want it to be, or if you let it, because of course there are so many people. A lot of the most successful businesses in this country are started by immigrants who have accents. And even a lot of immigrants have every level of business. There are so many successful people. So it's only an issue if you let it be an issue. I get that it's why have a negative belief when you can have a positive? It's hard to change your beliefs, but if you believe that your accent stops you from being successful in business, it will really stop you from being successful in business. And so what I encourage people is to work on the belief work on other beliefs. Other people have accents and are successful in business. I can be too. That's a great one to start off with. And to keep working up so that with your thoughts, so that you don't stop your own self. Because a lot of the times the people who stop us is ourselves. Like I could say, I'm a Black woman, so I don't think anybody's going to work with me. And that might be true. Some people might not work with me. But it's better for me to think I offer an excellent service, and I know that people will work with me. I know that people want to work with me. I know if people don't work with me, they're missing out. It's better for people to go in with that belief, because when you act from that belief, it comes over to the other person, and they're almost pulled in a magnetic fashion to want to work with you. And let me just say, when you got in touch with me about the podcast, I usually just mainly go on UK podcasts because I'm talking about UK property. But what pulled me into work with you is that you had a video also. And I could see in your video that you were, it wasn't what you said. It was just, I could just get your energy was that you're so excited about what you're doing and with this project. And so I really wanted to be part of it because of that.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me know. Like I'm getting like quite positive feedback from people. Like not feedback, but people are responding pretty well to it. Uh, yeah, so I think that this is a good reason why. Uh, So basically, one thing though I'll mention. So everything that I learned, so is from like seeing others. Like not everything, like from books I learned a lot of is from others, and so I'm bragging about myself. So sorry about that. But yeah. So and the thing is like sometimes I do things and then I think about it. So like it's not about just a video. Like so, and the video works better than all other mediums. Like other than creating personal relationships, uh, video works best. Like
Yeah.
top comes personal relationship, then comes video, then let's say audio, then I guess text. It's like that's the ladder. So uh, so that's the ladder for long. I had the long term idea, and I saw someone who was using video to actually connect with other people, though the aim was not to get guests, but like to be guests on the podcast. So I don't want to become a guest on another podcast. Uh, but I thought like this would be a great way to say something in a short way and summarize way, to summarize it, and that's why I use the video. And as you said, like this worked pretty well. Yeah, and yeah, I'm proud of myself for this.
Yeah. Yeah, you should be.
Yeah, so yeah, so now let's get back to it. I stop bragging about myself. Yeah.
No, it's good. No, it's good.
uh, yeah, so as you said, like your vision is to be excellent. So now what's your clear vision of your company for like let's say next 10 years? After 10 years, where do you see your company?
Yeah. So we've got three strands to our company. We've got our property management business, HMO Heaven, which we talked about. We've also got a property investment company, which is where we buy properties and develop them and manage them. And you can see more about that. There's a website, hmoheaven.co.uk. And there's a case studies page where we've got some before and afters of the work we do. And then the last one is we've got an education business called Rent to Rent Success, where we show other people how to get started in property with little money. We love all of the businesses, but where we want to be in 10 years' time is to build up our asset base of the properties that we own and to have them in trust to be used for good causes that go way beyond us. I run the company with my sister, Nikki. I have one son, and Nikki doesn't have any children. So we've taught my son Alex how to invest in property, and he will have his own portfolio. He's got one right now, um, but he will have his own.
How old is he?
Oh, he's quite old. He's 30. He's just
Oh,
turned 30. He's got his own place, but he's got one at the moment, and he's going to build that up over the years. So of course, we leave something to him, but I want it to be in trust for a charity. So that's our bigger vision. Um, the rest of it is inspiration. So we want to inspire as many people as possible who struggled like I did for many, many years, thinking that business and property and all of these things were not for them, to see that it is for you. It is for you right now. And from wherever you are, you can begin to build up what you need to build up. And sometimes, as we've talked about today, Mahmood, the number one thing to build up is just your inner confidence and self belief and just your relationship with yourself. So this is the voice that's always got all the chatter. That's the relationship that you need to have with yourself so that it's easy for you to fly.
okay. That's a really good vision. So why do you want to inspire people?
Yeah. I just think life is so much more fun when you live to your potential. And we've all got, not everybody wants to grow. So I have to caveat this and say, this is for people who want to grow. So some people, they're happy, they go to their job and they just want to do their job and have their family, and that's it. But then there's people who want to grow, who aspire to be more, who are not happy with their job, and they want to have their own businesses, they want to have their own mission, they want to do something more. So for all of those people, I want them to know that they can. They might think that there's all these reasons why they can't, such as, I'm a black woman, or I'm this, or I'm that, or I've got an accent, or whatever the thing is. We've all got a thing that we think is the reason why we can't do whatever we want to do. And I just think it makes the world a better place, because from where we were before, we didn't help people. And now, through our business, every single day, we are giving to charities. We give to charities in Africa mainly. But there's a platform called b1g1.com where businesses can link into this platform. And every time they make a sale or have an action that they predetermine, they give money to one of the projects. And they've got projects which are all around the world.
Okay, interesting, interesting. So like you said, like predetermined. What do you mean by predetermined projects?
So the B1G1 platform. So rather than me going out and saying, okay, let me find a project in Africa to give to, when I go into the platform and log in, it shows me, okay, you can pay for children going to school in Kenya. You can pay
Oh,
for
got it.
teaching women business in Malawi. They will have projects also in India. They've got projects all over the world, and in the UK as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Got it. So now, so what? This is a question that I always ask. So what is education and learning to you?
Yeah, it's everything, because I just believe in growth. And for me, that's what makes me alive. That's what makes the aliveness and the passion and the energy and the enthusiasm and the growth. It's the growth and the development. So I one of the very early things I learned in business, I was very tentative and I was baby steps into this business, but I felt I really wanted to do my best. And one of the very first things I learned, I was on a business accelerator program, and I saw that there's a business pathway. Now, this is business 101 to most people, but I was blown away that there's actually a path for each niche of business. There's a way that you grow from being a micro business into a multi-million pound business and beyond. um, uh, According to the number of employees and so on, and the different systems that you put in place at different places along the way. And that was mind blowing to me, because what I realized then is this isn't luck or chance. There's a system. And if you follow the system for success, you are much more likely to succeed. And of course, once you know the system, you can innovate on it and do things that are counter to the system. But initially, while you're just getting started, just follow the system, I said to myself. And that gave me the freedom, because it seems so obvious now. But I then realized that any problems that we have in business have already been solved. And so all I need to do is find out how people are solving the problems. And then that helps me to solve it. I haven't got to work it out. And that gave me so much freedom and took a lot of stress off, because I didn't just have to rely on what I knew or didn't know. The answers were already out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is also a really good thing that you mentioned, like, because people like in the world and during all these years, all these like all the ages, people have faced all kinds of problems basically. Though
Mm,
not the corona pandemic, but something similar of which resulted in similar type of problems. Let's say communication problem or traveling problem. So, and if we go through the history, like, or look to other people how they have solved this issue, we can, let's say, solve the problem easily. That's the thing.
mm, mm,
Yeah, so we are almost at the end. So yeah,
mm.
so all the way on, or just at the end. Yeah, so why did you decided to write Train to Success?
Yeah, I wrote Rent to Rent Success because of that. I just felt that burning inside me that I needed to get it out there. So not everyone can afford. We run a 3-month Kickstarter program, which helps people through the whole process from the idea to the cash flow. But not everyone can afford to come on that. And I wanted to spread the word far and wide. So I wrote the book, and I just wanted everyone to know and to be able to take the system from the book and be able to do it for themselves. And what I'd love to offer, Mahmood, is to any reader, any listeners who leave a review of your podcast, if they email me at support@rent2rentsuccess.com, then Angelica will email them a copy of the Rent to Rent Success book. If any of your listeners would like a copy of the book, I'd be delighted to send them that if they review this podcast and maybe mention this episode.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, that's a really good way. Though it's a kind of bribing people, but yeah, it's a good research. And thanks a lot for coming on the show. Like, where can our listeners find you, online or offline?
Thank you so much. They can find me, and my website is rents2rentsuccess.com, rent number two, rentsuccess.com. And we also have there a free guide and masterclass if people want to find out more about rent to rent. And I'm also on Instagram at Stephanie T Property. I'd love to hear from listeners if you just want to drop me a message on Instagram.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'm pretty sure like people learned a lot from the show. And thanks again for coming on the show. I appreciate it. And yeah, so I'm sure like listeners got value out of it. And yeah, that's how we end this podcast.